Hello guys, welcome back. I guess this is what's gonna be, in my mind at least for now, is gonna be the main focus of the channel, and it's essentially gonna be in-depth album reviews, or semi-in-depth at least anyway, and just going into a little bit of detail behind each of the bands and the specific album that we're talking about. So there's going to be literally no real sort of format as to how I'm going to choose these albums. They're going to be at random. They really are. They'll be purely at random. I hope you're okay with that, but I'll just, as sort of I pick them out, I can think of stuff just jumping into my head, and I'm just grabbing them and I'm thinking, right, I'll focus on this. There's no real set list that I'm really working through. It's just as and when. So I think that'll work best for me. So we'll crack straight on. So the band in question, at least, I'll give you a little bit of background, is this thrash band. I'm wearing the t-shirt, the Ignorance album t-shirt. It's got a back print as well, I don't know if you can see. Super cool t-shirt. The band is Sacred Reich. They are 37 years old now, going all them bloody years. I can remember back in mid-90s when I were originally into them. It's just like a lot of these 80s and 90s bands, it's just gone so quick. So originally formed in Phoenix, Arizona in 1980. They've been predominantly signed to Metal Blade Records for the vast majority of that time. They did have a period of time signed to Hollywood Records, but I believe they're still signed to Metal Blade. Metal Blade Records in itself has got quite a cult following as well. In terms of band members, we'll probably just focus on the original four. They've had various changes over the years, as most bloody bands. They even had a hiatus period where they'd called it a day for, I think it was 2000, 2006, something like that. But they got back together, still going strong. So the original four was Phil Rind on vocals and bass. We've got Wiley Arnett, who's the lead guitarist. Just reminding myself. Jason Rainey, who sadly passed away now. R.I.P. to him. He was the original rhythm guitarist. And we've got Greg Hall on drums, who's been replaced. So has to sort of be mentioned that it was placed by Dave McClain of Machine Head fame. What year did he go? Yeah, so 1991 to 95, McClain was in the band. He left, and believe it or not, he's rejoined again now. I think since something daft like 2019, 2020. So he's back in Sacred Reich now. So yeah, they've had various changes over the years. But Phil Rind and Wiley Arnett are still, they've been there right through. So in terms of the material that they do, they are a thrash band, sort of the conception wise. They have had certain criticism over the years that they've sort of struggled with identity, genre, and sort of material themes. They've tried various different branching off from thrash, even down to silly stuff like funk, which didn't necessarily work well. But I think when they stick to their proper thrash roots, is where they are best. In terms of song sort of ideas and how they're constructed and songwriting themes, I'd say they're predominantly politically based, especially like going back to 80s and 90s. A lot of themes, certainly on this album, what we're going to talk about now is when US involvement in Central America, things like that. Quite clued up in terms of political ideas and stances. And if you read into into the lyrics, they are definitely aiming, sort of angling towards politically sort of themed tracks. So if we just we'll look at the album in question itself. I'm going to just have a quick look at artwork, because I think a lot of these bands as well, it's important to focus not just on the music, but also on the actual artwork of the CDs. Now, this particular version of this album in question, so the album we're actually going to talk about today is Surf Nicaragua, or Surf Nicaragua if you're American, which is an EP actually. It's not. I'll put that on that. It's only 26 minutes long. It's an EP rather than an album, so a mini album if you like. But this particular version, so the two albums that I'll talk about, I'll do the next one in another video, but they're both quite rare early pressings. The vast majority of this particular EP are generally you'll find in like a digipack, gatefold type. So this one, I've had this not too long actually. I managed to get my mitts on it. They were selling both this one and the other one. Probably I think I paid about 40 quid for the pair, but believe it or not, still an half decent price. I have noticed with Sacred Reich stuff, certainly of late, prices are rising now, not just in terms of the CDs, you know, definite emphasis on vinyl increasing, as with a lot of stuff, a lot of vinyl in general, but certainly like metal, thrash, death metal has seen a definite increase, definite shift in price over the last, say, probably 5 years at least, and it's still climbing now. So vinyl, especially expensive by Sacred Reich. But like I say, this was quite a rare early pressing, identified by it being in an original CD box rather than the digipack. In terms of the apparel, again, anything Sacred Reich now, t-shirt wise, a lot of them, original tour t-shirts can go for daft money, even seeing stuff like that over 100 quid. It's just absolutely crazy bananas money. Managed to get this fairly cheap. It is an original album rather than the tour one, but compared to the tour t-shirts now, I just won't be willing to pay those prices. Absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, so back to the album then. Fabulous album. Don't get me wrong, it does have its critics. Produced by Bill Matoya and Sacred Reich collaboration. So they were even from the conception. So this segued in nicely after the first album, which is Ignorance. It came a year after. So this was 1988, Ignorance, 1987. So they were quite from the off heavily involved where they could in the production. I think they stuck with this Bill Matoya guy for quite a while actually. But yeah, in terms of the artwork, so we've got the guy, their mascot, if you like, is this guy that always wears a gas mask. Again, a war theme. He's got the fused bomb in his hand, referring to US involvement in Nicaragua, or CIA involvement at least in Nicaragua. He's riding a coffin lid as a surfboard there. Sorry about the glare, guys, as well. And I think it's just such an iconic cover. We've got the skulls bordering it all the way around. So cool. I'm not sure who actually did the artwork. I'm looking at the albums and their artwork. I'm assuming it's the same guy because it's all the same theme. Definitely same style of artwork. So I'm assuming it's the same artist that did certainly their early stuff. And then we'll just turn it over to the back, which is an equally beautiful cover. I'll just try and tilt it there so we're not in. So we've got the beach scene, if as it were. We've got some skulls. We've got the sunset on a beautiful crimson sort of sea scene there on the beach. I just think it's such an iconic album cover. This, you got to remember, it's not, like I say, it's 1988 as well, so there are all sorts of shit going on in Central America at that time. So yeah, love the album cover. So yeah, so moving on to the tracks themselves. Then, well, like I said, there's only 6 tracks, 6 songs on this album. The last 2 are live. Like I said, reading in-depth reviews, there's sort of like a mixed bag of reviews, if you like. There's them that really champion it and really sort of, it stands up there as, maybe not in the sort of top echelons, the real pinnacles of thrash metal, but certainly as a band, they are, considered fairly high up there. Probably like a tier 2 type thrash band. But it does have its, like I say, it does have its critics. So if we take the first song, so the title track itself, Surf Nicaragua, I've just made a few notes myself on what my thoughts are. I will say this right from the off now. This, as is the case with his most thrash, certainly thrash metal, if not metal, the whole in general, this album needs to be played at volume. It's not an album where you'll get the best out of it, like a mid-range volume. Similar to a lot of Pantera stuff, which we'll cover as well going down the line. Pantera as well, similar to this band, needs to be played at volume, whether it's through your hi-fi in your room or through your headphones. You don't get the best out of thrash metal till you crank it up. A lot of people don't realise that. It comes into its own. It really does. So, I mean, yeah, what I've said about this is, being an ex, albeit super amateur, but I've been an ex-drummer. I mean, my ears always tend to lean towards drumming standards and drumming abilities and how tight they are. And it has to be said that the drumming on this album is bloody tight. Greg Hall's drumming is just fantastic on it. It really is. We've got super tight riffing on this first track as well. It does get a bit of criticism being a long drawn out affair. It's almost 3/4 instrumental, quite minimalist on the vocals as well. But as with the first portion of this album, it tends to be a grower over time. The more you listen to it, the more you sort of start to appreciate. But I guess if you'd never heard it, you would find it as an opening track quite weak. Probably, yeah. I do get where the critics are coming from this. We've got references to Wipeout. Is it Beach Boys? I think it's Beach Boys Wipeout. Obviously, they're referring back to this. There's a war theme. You've got like a bomb theme coming in, like a bomb landing right at the sort of opening of the track. So there's all that, like I say, there's all this sort of military conflict vibe going on, certainly to this album, and others as well. Moving on to the second track, another one which does attract quite a bit of criticism, called One Nation. Now, again, considered quite dull. I've put it, it's a real sort of, it's got a slow, real heavy chugging guitar back to it, sort of backing riff to it. It's definitely slower pace to the first track. It's even been considered boring and almost like a watered down track. Again, I personally find that over time, since I've revisited this album, the more I listen to it, the more I like it. So yeah, just if you are new to this album and this band, just you'll probably see what I mean. Give it a few listens, give it a bit of airtime, and it really just gets better. So the third track is a cover of Black Sabbath's War Pigs. Quite a bizarre track, to slot in there. Again, I can see why. Obviously, the war theme again. It gets some real ribbing, does this, almost calling it pointless. But no, personally, again, I think it's a grower. I can't help but like it. I just think the pacing of it's great. It doesn't take itself so seriously, which is the main thing with it. When you're covering such an iconic and well-known track, I think it's key to and important not to sort of take that cover too serious. And I think they pull it off with that track. So from my point of view, I think it works. And you know what? Over the years as well, I guess this is the track that the album's known for, War Pigs. You know, you can't get away from it. That's the track that, oh yeah, do you remember when Sacred Reich did War Pigs? Yeah, it's known for that. So moving on to track 4. This is where the album really starts to come alive now. They just get, the last 3 tracks now just get better and better. So, Draining You of Life. I've wrote, now this is probably where it sort of moves over now back to traditional thrash now, as the tempo, the pace of the song is really ramped up now. I've wrote things like In Your Face, Don't Hold Any Prisoners, pretty balls out now. Such a noticeable increase in sort of riffage, in like I say, in terms of pace of the song. You're really, boom, this is where it's now really key that you've got that volume turned up. You really, come on. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic, is that song. Sort of real vintage Sacred Reich, if you like. That's where they're the best now, when they're doing stuff like this. It really is. Moving on to track 5. So they do, it's a version of Ignorance live. Slightly different pace, but boy, man, yeah. Again, like I say, notches it up again now. Fucking hell, it's just, oh man, I love these last 2 tracks. I love to be honest, my personal opinion, until you hear it at the end with the sort of the audience, the crowd cheering, for me, you can't really tell that it's live, only on the difference in pace to the original sort of album version. The main guitar riff that's running through sort of 2/3 of the way through this song is just simply mesmerising. It's a proper moshing, if I had long hair like I did on a 19, it's a proper moshing, head-banging riff, is that. It's really boom, come on. Yeah, that's what thrash is all about. And then finally moving on to the last track, again, another live track, Death Squad. Oh, I've put it, it's quite the savage, quite savage is this track now. It's just like, just as good as thrash can get for me. We're really up to the, real top level thrash music now. And you know what? This track just goes just like that. Before you know it, the album's over, and you're like, wow. And you can't help escape the sort of the feeling you get when the album's ended is, I want to play it again. I mean, I've genuinely listened to this album 4 times on the trot regularly. You're just thinking, shit, I want to, such is the power of the last 2 tracks. You're wanting to replay it again. You bang it on again. And yeah, I suppose when you rerun it, you brought a little bit back down to the pace and the sort of slight drudgery of them first 2 songs. But before you know it again, it's... And I think, so overall then, yeah, you can find critique in this album. It's not a perfect album by any means, but it's certainly well known within the metal crowd. It's, well, definitely as an EP anyway. It's well known to the metal crowd for having, for various reasons, but I think it's pretty solid as sort of thrash metal goes. And I'd probably give this a good strong 8 out of 10. As an EP, as an album, but yeah, it's a must to have in my collection with this again. So well chuffed to have it. So if you ain't checked them out, guys, and you are into thrash metal, or just introducing yourself to metal music, such a good solid borderline classic thrash metal piece to start on is this. It really is. So it certainly definitely gets my recommendation. Okay, right, cheers guys, that's number 1 out of the way. Thank you so much for watching. This is what the channel is going to be about. It's going to be about in-depth, semi-in-depth at least, reviews, track by track of these albums, give you a bit of background to these bands and stuff. So cheers for watching. Take it easy.